What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Yesterday was an interesting day. A lot of tension online waiting for some kind of announcement. You know what? It's partially my fault because I underestimated Nintendo. Since they like to undercut Newswave so much, just a few hours later, it's pretty clear they're waiting to shadow drop this announcement for their next generation system for Newswave to go up so they can do it a couple of hours later. So here I am, doing it for the people out there, okay? So in advance, you're welcome, because I'm sure Nintendo can't resist overshadowing Newswave this morning. But still, we have a bunch of stuff to go over, which actually does include Nintendo themselves issuing a warning. We have some new PlayStation Plus premium games to look forward to, which actually, interesting classic thrown in there. And then we also have a brand new eShop that's launched, and this one actually has music. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if new here to the SpawnWave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members of the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button down below this video. And we're gonna start today with actually a Switch 2 leak. People, of course, all over the place last night waiting for Nintendo to make the announcement of the announcement that would then follow up, well, today. And in the meantime, it seems that Nexthandheld decided to just post an image with the aid of AI to cover their tracks of the Switch 2 Joy-Cons. You can see it here, and yeah, it looks like DK is holding them up there, at least a rendition from AI of DK, but still, we have both Joy-Cons there fully. Before, they were zoomed in or cropped shots of these two controllers, so here they are now completely. We do see the orange and blue, like neon sort of accent, not only on the rails there, but also underneath of the analog sticks. And to be honest, this really wasn't that surprising of an image. I mean, I feel like at this point, we already kind of know what the Joy-Cons look like, since we've sort of pasted together a lot of the images, and we have a bunch of artist renders that are incredibly close to these. So not really shocking, just based on all the breadcrumbs we've had leading up to this point. But still, if you're kind of hanging out waiting, you can get a good look at the Switch 2 Joy-Cons here with AI all around it. Also, we do have some unfortunate news that, of course, would be layoffs, which is what else is new currently in the video game industry, especially after all of last year. This one, though, is a bit more vague, and it has to do with Microsoft. We can see this is posted up over on VGC, where it says Microsoft makes layoffs across several divisions. That does include gaming. Now, they've confirmed this second round of job cuts for the month here. However, according to Business Insider, while they do impact employees and Xbox makers, security, sales, and gaming businesses, there's really no word on how many people were laid off. So it's kind of a situation of, well, probably see people, I assume, pop up on social media saying that they're looking for new work or posting their resume, and some will be able to, I guess, go through LinkedIn to try to get an idea, at least a decent broad view of how many people were laid off. But this is once again Microsoft, as we've seen going through all of last year, continuing to trim positions, most likely, I guess, that may have overlapped still with Activision Blizzard, or just continue to cut down on costs after all the overhiring that took place during COVID. Oh, and we did have a new patch that went live for the PlayStation 5 Pro when it comes to Jedi Survivor, which this was posted up over on their subreddit. And in this update, that's patch 10, addressed a few issues specific to the PS5 Pro. For example, updated to the latest PSSR version. We reduced foliage flickering. They also improved reflection visuals and reduced flickering in volumetric fog. And this is kind of where we are with the PS5 Pro. While we do have just general ideas of performance and what developers have been able to do so far, there are still many where it seemed like the SDK they were building the game on is kind of the older version of PSSR, and we're just kind of getting these updates as we go along to make the PS5 Pro actually act like a PS5 Pro and give you better experiences than what you had with the PS5, which for a while wasn't really the case with some of these titles like Jedi Survivor. So here's hoping this recent patch is able to actually fix that and make the PS5 Pro have the best version possible, at least on consoles. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Nintendo issuing a warning kinda out of nowhere. And it was very odd because while they were technically referencing the homebrew community around things like the Wii U and 3DS, they kept it extremely vague to where if you didn't know any of that was going on, you'd have no clue what they were talking about. But we can see this is posted up. This is over on Nintendo's account here, and I did have it translated over to English through way of Twitter X. But still, it says request, we have confirmed the existence of unauthorized services that replace functions such as online play for the Wii U, which ended service on April 9th, 2024. Please refrain from using such services as they may pose unexpected security risks. Now, if you're unaware, there are technically, like, as they say, unauthorized services for still playing the Wii U online. Same with the 3DS. The most popular one that I know of is Pretendo, and it works really well. In fact, there are methods where you don't even have to technically soft mod your Wii U to play online. Now, it's very limited compared to if you hack your system. It just opens up way more avenues and different features for online play, but you don't necessarily need to do that. Still, though, this was very, very odd because Nintendo could have just gone about their day and not referenced Pretendo or any of these other services at all. So it did seem kind of strange. The Wii U is obviously in the rearview mirror for them. They've shut the whole thing down and they've moved on to the Switch, and soon their next generation Switch 2. The only thing I think of here is, while most of us understand that that is not a product from Nintendo, Pretendo, there's still, I'm sure, people out there who maybe don't make that connection, right? They're not as in tune, or they're at a friend's house, or who knows, right? And it could be like, wow, the Wii U and Nintendo, they're just terrible when it comes to this online stuff. Look, people are like hacking into some kind of security issue, which we have seen some security loopholes with things like Mario Kart 7 as an example on the 3DS that did lead to like significant security risks. And that's all been patched and fixed and stuff since then. But the idea of Nintendo is just, let's just distance ourselves completely by making at least an official statement. So if somehow there is an issue even years from now, we can say, hey, look, we did legitimately warn you. We put it out there on our official social accounts. They updated, I'm sure, their website and stuff, and it's there in writing. So everything else at this point is legitimately on you, which I feel like most of us understand that. Once you go down the avenue and the road of hacking your system, you know you're leaving the official, the walled gardens, the guardrails. That's just completely off the table then, because there's even a chance you can just outright brick the system completely and it won't work anymore. And guess what? Even if it was in warranty, then it wouldn't be covered by warranty, because at that point you've broken all the terms and stuff. So we all understand this. This is just, I think, Nintendo more or less covering themselves in the future. It's official. It's in writing. There you go. But still, people are going to use Pretendo because, yeah, guess what, Nintendo? You kind of shut down the online services for, well, all the Wii U games and 3DS. Next up, let's talk about PlayStation Plus, Premium, and Extra tiers, as those were announced for the month of January. These games will go live January 21st, so we should see those go live next week. And there's actually some pretty good stuff in here, as well as a bit of a, for me anyway, surprising classic title that's going into the service this month. Let's start, though, here from the top. This is over on PlayStation Blog. We have God of War Ragnarok at the top. That's like the big headline game. And it's a good one. It's going in there for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Of course, you want to play God of War 2018 first, as this is a direct sequel. I liked Ragnarok. It didn't have the impact that God of War 2018 had when I first turned that on, and it's completely different from the other God of War games, but it's a high-quality experience, and I do recommend picking that God of War 2018 up and God of War Ragnarok. I mean, they're both in the service at this point, so you can just technically download them and play them. Then we have Like a Dragon Gaiden, the Man Who Erased His Name. That's PS4 and PS5. Obviously big time there for Like a Dragon or Yakuza fans. Atlas Fallen, Reign of Sand. That's on the PS5. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of experience with this one, so let me know if this was a good title. It says it's an action RPG. I also noticed it didn't get the best of review scores, so I don't know if that's just the critics didn't like it and the fans do. Hard to say. Then we have SD Gundam Battle Alliance. That's PS4 and PS5. Always fun to see a Gundam game go in there. Sayonara Wild Hearts on the PS4. Good title there. Different kind of game. So I think a good matchup here for the subscription service. Something new to just kind of try and on a whim and see what you think. We have Anno Mutationum. I am not at all aware of this one. PS4 and PS5, but it says 2D meets 3D cyberpunk world. Interesting. Again, this for me is kind of the situation of, well, it's going in the subscription service. I could give it a download and try it out and see what I think. Orcs Must Die 3, that's on the PS4 and the PS5. Citizen Sleeper, that's PS4 and PS5. Poker Club on the PS4. Then moving up to PlayStation Plus Premium. check this out. Indiana Jones and the Staff of Kings. What? This is their PS2 release. Say it came out in 2009. I remember this game on the Wii. So I don't actually remember playing on the PS2, and it was, again, an odd release, I guess, at that point on the Wii, and I don't even really remember it that well at all. I remember a friend had it, and I played it there, and we occasionally had it traded in years and years later at the stores, but I never sat down and actually played it then, so I don't know. I mean, I'm already kind of still in the mood for Indiana Jones after playing The Great Circle, because that was a very, very good, high-quality title on the Xbox, so I mean, maybe I'll give it a download, although I went back and tried to play the N64 Indiana Jones after RG told me it was good, and not so much. I mean, it's not bad, it's just not... It's a game, we'll say, from the late 90s for that one. Then we have Medieval 2, PS4 and PS5. This, of course, being a PS1 title that released back in 2000, the follow-up to Medieval, which did have a remake on the PS4. I'm wondering if there are plans for Medieval 2 to also get a remake, especially seeing something like this. It's almost like laying the groundwork, like, hey, do you remember Medieval 2? Just throwing it out there to see what you guys think, and then maybe we'll double back and do a remake in a year or two. So again, not a bad overall month with the big headlining games like God of War or Like a Dragon, but also the classics like an Indiana Jones game to play from the PS2. So definitely a lot of variety this month. Next up, let's talk about the terrible eShop on the Switch currently, because it is basically impossible to navigate well in terms of discoverability, finding something new to play. If you know what you're looking for, it's easy enough to search for it, click it, and then eventually, I say eventually because it's very slow, you'll get to the checkout page, and then you're back to the much faster Switch main menu. Well, it looks like Nintendo Life is taking matters into their own hands and creating a much better experience for the eShop, and we can see it here. And they're calling this Better eShop. And they go down some of the changes and technically upgrades that they have here over the current eShop, which the first one is, because it's a very simplistic view, it's much, much faster. Now they have content filters, which technically gets rid of any of the shovelware, asset flips, and as they say, hentai games, which if you look at the filters tab here, they have, if I click enable, 6,256 shovelware games that are just removed. They say those are generally of low quality, low effort, or other kinds of spam. Hentai games, 156 of them are removed. They also removed like romance, which I guess are like dating games, bundles, so single games that are then thrown together, mobile ports, asset flips, copycats, the simulators, collectibles, and then just mature, which you can technically go through and enable or disable however many of these you would like. So it's not really a situation of they're just always like that. It's nice to have that customization there. You also have user reviews, so there is at least a way for people to drop reviews and ratings and stuff here. And something else that I thought was pretty cool, there's music. So if you click that, it's kind of like the eShop music from back in the day, and you can turn it on and off with the little speaker icon at the top there. And it's still early days, as they're saying, so they're still trying to collect feedback and build on this, but it is directly linked to the eShop, so when you click on one of these and you find what you want to pick up, it'll then send you over to that page on the Nintendo official website, and you complete the checkout process there. So it's at least a way to navigate around and find stuff easier. Again, discoverability is the biggest thing that Nintendo needs to work on going into next generation with their eShop, which I would hope is getting fully redesigned, because at this point, we have websites like Nintendo Life trying to fix the problem by creating a front end for the terrible eShop. That's just where we are. I mean, come on, Nintendo. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a report that was released yesterday around Microsoft and their big push for Game Pass, but also their struggles back in 2021 that led Satya and Nadella to the decision of, do we keep going? Or do we just shut down Xbox? We can see this is posted up. This is over on the information. However, it technically has like a paywall up, and there are a few quotations that were pulled on the Reddit here. It says in 2021, CEO Satya Nadella faced a choice involving the company's Xbox and cloud gaming business. The company could either acquire major game studios to drive more subscriptions to its nascent Game Pass subscription service, or it could wind down its games business entirely. Nadella told two people at the time, course, we know now, just with history, to take that first path, he acquired Bethesda Studios for $7 billion in 2021 and Call of Duty maker Activision Blizzard for $75.4 billion in the fall of 2023. So the big push here for them is their subscription service, Game Pass, and the idea is by 2030, they're looking to have, get this, 100 million subscribers. I don't think that's going to happen, mostly because the last reported number we had was, I think at the beginning of 2024, it was 34 million. So they do have to essentially triple their current Game Pass subscriber number in 5 years. I don't think that's going to happen because it appears Call of Duty didn't necessarily have the biggest push on the subscription side since, yeah, it seems like a lot of people who want Call of Duty just bought it and that was it. So Microsoft really needs to figure out ways to get people on board. And while I do think if they had sold more Xbox systems, that seems to be the most direct path to signing up for Game Pass. Sell an Xbox to somebody, keep hitting them with the Game Pass advertisements, integrate it into their dashboard, and eventually they'll decide to subscribe to it. However, it seems like Microsoft is going the other direction of, can we turn other things into Xboxes and sell Game Pass that way? That kind of is the gamble right now, and that's something we need to see if it will work out, especially as they go into their next generation offering, which, based on rumors and some of the reports out there, will let them open up the Xbox brand for all kinds of manufacturers. And then we'll have Xboxes flying all over the place, and I guess the hope in their mind is, well, if it's built in, that being Game Pass and everyone's making them, eventually people will find their way to the subscription service that way. I'm really curious what happens if they get to 2030 and there really hasn't been that much movement. Do they keep pushing, or do they somehow backtrack a bit on the subscription service and go back to just a la carte sales and trying to sell 10 to 15 million copies every time they have a big time AAA release? Is that even possible? That's the question, because Microsoft is in a very, very precarious position currently when it comes to gaming. They have all kinds of, at this point, developers and studios to make those games, but they've also kind of gone down the path of training their consumer base to just not really pick them up and look towards something like Game Pass. So I'm curious if this works out in the long run for them, because they are indeed running one of the wildest experiments in gaming right now, especially when you compare it to Sony or Nintendo. And before we go to the comments of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, which is Game of the Year madness. Yeah, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth versus Dragon Quest III HD2D, and yeah, Rebirth just completely running over Dragon Quest III. Not too surprising. I mean, look, the Rebirth itself, it was a Game of the Year nomination this past year. Like, I get it. It does have that popularity to it, but like, Dragon Quest III HD2D is pretty good. Like, I'm playing through it. It's basically the game I play when I'm on the treadmill in the morning, and I've put like 30 some odd hours into it, and I just keep finding stuff. And it's an awesome, awesome remake of a classic title from back in the day when we had Dragon Quest III, and then we had it again remade on like the Super Famicom, and it's a really good traditional JRPG to pick up. And it still really, really holds true to that. It didn't try to change things up drastically. They do have some quality of life improvements in there that I do appreciate, because it is at least a bit easier to navigate through a game that still retains quite a bit of its difficulty. Fully recommend it. I think it's going to end up being like a 40 to 50 hour game for me. And of course, Rebirth, also a good game. That one, though, is going to take you a couple 100 hours to get the Platinum Trophy, so get ready for that. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Ultimate Inkling, saying the Switch 2 is basically an anime arc that lasts so long that you're waiting for it to end already. Yeah, Frieza told us 5 minutes at the start of 2024, and we're still waiting for Namek to explode now at the beginning of 2025. But I think we're coming up to the end of the tunnel now. And hey, if Nintendo really does announce the Switch 2 a few hours after Newswave goes up, like, I'll put a video up afterwards, like just kind of reacting to the whole thing, because trust me, just a tidal wave of information will follow, I'm sure, with press releases and all of a sudden sources everywhere throwing games around and announcements. But like, come on, if that happens, you gotta at least come out and check out the reaction video, because they will indeed be burying Newswave under some crazy generational news. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you wanted to get your predictions in for what the Switch 2 could end up being priced at. I have a video going over it, and I'll leave that right below it. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.